Pretty sure a lot of us, Battlefield players were definitely happy with the Season 1 trailer, seeing some cool maps coming, new guns, gadgets, attachments. But players like, I know there's a lot of players like me, we're like, where's those patch notes? You know what I mean? Because, we've had a lot of issues. Well, I wouldn't say a lot compared to most games these days, but, weapon bloom, shots not going to where your reticle is lined up at is a big issue, especially when you begin firing. Like the first couple bullets could be missing. I understand if you're holding down, the trigger the entire time and you're dumping a whole mag, maybe somewhere in the middle or towards the end of your magazine, it could start going a little bit all over the place. I can understand that, but your beginning shots missing is just it just doesn't make sense, especially when you're planting your feet or you're mounted somewhere, not even moving around. You got vertical grips and all that, and some visibility issues on certain maps are worse than others. But let's get into these patch notes though. I'm gonna have the patch notes like fully posted up either in my description or I'm gonna pin it in a comment down below, the full patch notes. I'm just gonna go over some of the more major ones that's really gonna affect the gameplay. A lot of the minuscule ones I will probably not go over. So if you guys want to read the full patch notes, check in the comments down below. But I'm going to be starting off with improved core movement and animations, including smoother landings, faster stance transitions, better vaulting behavior, and reducing bouncing issues when landing or spawning in. I'm assuming they're trying to make movement feel a little bit more, obviously smooth, maybe a little bit faster, and to match the pace of the gunplay, as they were saying. Faster stance transitions and vaulting over, I guess, simple, covers is going to be a lot smoother. It's going to make it feel a lot faster. And somewhere in the middle, because they didn't want to make it like the beta where it was too fast, where people were complaining about it, where you had a lot of people from Call of Duty or Warzone, just slide canceling a whole bunch and using movement and, outclassing someone's gun skill with unrealistic movement. At the end of the day, even as a new player, I understand Battlefield is Battlefield. It's more tactical. My experience was Call of Duty, but I was also a very high level Rainbow Six Siege player. So I love when a game is more about tactical movement, using your brain. So, finding a great middle ground, I'm cool with that. I'm not sure how you guys feel about that, but I didn't really have any issues. I didn't even really notice the movement changes from the beta till to the game's release, honestly. I didn't really notice anything major. Just a lot of people that rely on movement too much, I guess, they had major issues with it. Reworked weapon dispersion to better align accuracy and handling with each weapon's intended design and performance over range. These changes address cases where accuracy behaved inconsistently. This is like weapon bloom. I'm pretty sure that's what they're talking about, such as dispersion, not properly settling after sprinting, and bring overall firing behavior closer to intended balance between precision, control, and weapon power. So if you guys are great at, controlling your recoil, you plant your feet, you're not like moving around. I'm not gonna lie, in this gameplay, I see myself doing it right there. That's a habit I just have in me from Rainbow Six Siege. You're always, strafing a bit. But, since this gameplay, I've gotten way better, and it's fun improving and just learning a new game and just, getting rewarded for your skill. So, now it's going to reward players that are using the proper attachments for accuracy and precision, planting their feet, and, obviously not holding continuous fire over too long of ranges and while moving. That's intended for your accuracy and your bloom to be a bit crazier, because it's not trying to be like Warzone where you could beam somebody 120 meters away with just an AR. They're not trying to be just like Call of Duty, but in a way they're trying to have a middle ground, which again, I love. I'm glad they're fixing this, because there's times where somebody's running across and they're able to turn around and kill me because I had literally lined up the shots and my first 5 or 6 bullets miss, and they're able to obviously either see me on the map or hear the gunfire through the headset, turn around, and obviously kill me. So that's not really fun, especially when I planted my feet, lined up the shots, and I should have gotten the kill, and I don't. So that could be very frustrating. and I do notice it happening more frequently at times. But I mean, it hasn't made me to the point where I just don't want to play the game, honestly. So, I'm glad they're fixing it though. It's gonna make me want to play the game even more, and it's gonna make gunfights feel way more balanced. So this is definitely a great improvement. Now, touching upon the same thing I was talking about in the beginning of the video, significant visibility and lighting improvements with better exposure, transitions to interior lighting, reduced fog and smoke persistence. That's something I was complaining about as well, where I'm like, a lot of the dust and a lot of the elements of the destruction, it was just staying in the air for too long and really, messing up visibility, and just wasn't fun in certain maps that, that have more dust and more crazy environmental, effects going on. It would make it very hard to see anybody. The visibility is very hard, and also like looking out of a building to the outside. I heard if HDR is off, it's even worse for people. So them fixing this is like gonna be a night and day difference. It's gonna be way easier to see your enemies. Now the accuracy is gonna be fixed. I don't mind if you're moving while you're shooting and you're just holding down the trigger too long and you're too far away and you're missing your shots. I'm all for a skill gap. That's great. You can't just have a meta AR and just beam people from across the map automatically. You gotta strategically know your gun's range and its sweet spots, kind of like how snipers have theirs. My AR is gonna have the same thing. I can't take on certain gunfights like my LMG can. For example, the L110, that's my favorite LMG, that's my go-to. I can't beam people and have suppressive fire like that with M433, so you have to know your ranges, and there's skill gap for that, so I love that. Let's see, we got audio overhaul, adding new projectile, flybys, destruction and explosion sounds, refined vehicle and weapon mixes, and improved haptic feedback across interactions. And that's pretty cool. That's just gonna be even better for overall immersion and all that. Those fixes right there, the patch notes could have damn near ended there, and that's fantastic. I come from games like UFC where we get like 2 fixes every month and they just ignore us. They don't listen to the community. So these devs are just listening to us. All the feedback we're giving, they're pretty much fixing everything that we are complaining about. It says UI and HUD updates for clarity and consistency, including overtime indicators, end of round fixes, and unlock markers for weapons and gadgets. Yeah, the UI could be a little confusing sometimes, so that's pretty cool. Map fixes across multiple locations, resolving spawn animations, out of bounds issues, misaligned assets, and general stability across conquest and breakthrough. Yeah, sometimes I'll spawn in places where it's funny. I get stuck on this map, actually, on the rooftop. If you guys know where the bathroom's at, I think like where there's stalls, I think somewhere on this rooftop. I think, yeah, this building right here. Sometimes I would spawn in on a teammate and I would get stuck in the stall. I'm like, bro, hopefully that one's fixed. That's the only one I really got. Like, it was a bad spawn where you just couldn't move. Yeah. And another compliment I gotta give them too is I never had an FPS shooter with flashlights that interact like that. Like, they literally blind you and everything. Like, that's gotten people, free kills on me because I just get blinded by it. I really like that. That's pretty cool. I don't remember any FPS shooter that I played having that. But this update's going to be launching October 28th. I'm pretty sure it's on Tuesday, because I have another update for another game I play as well, Undisputed Boxing. So it's really cool. Tuesday's going to be a really fun day for me, and yeah, got a lot of work to do on those days. Get some recording going for Season 1 of Battlefield 6, and, something new for my boxing game as well. So that's definitely going to be a great day. And then there's like a laundry list and then some of tons of just crazy, like, amazing fixes for a lot of maps and just very small bugs. Obviously, I might have not experienced, but you may have. If you want to dive deeper into those, like I told you guys, I'm going to post the full patch notes either in the description or I'm going to pin a comment down below, and you guys can check out the full patch notes for yourself, because there's just so much. I'm reading through it right now, and it's just beautiful to see this, Yeah, they did a lot of gadget fixes. Okay, weapon dispersion has been rebalanced to better match each weapon's damage profile across all ranges. Lower damage weapons will now see a slightly higher increase in dispersion when firing, while higher damage weapons will experience slightly less. Again, that's going to be adding skill gap. So if you are using guns right now that do not have that range and you're beaming people with this update, you're going to be doing slightly less damage. And if I'm using the proper gun at that range, I'll be able to gun you down more consistently. I love that. That's a skill gap. Just like I was talking about, the sweet spot. Just like, you know, they have it for the snipers. It's kind of the same thing for any other guns, you know? So you got to know your ranges for whatever weapons you're using. Because obviously we can't be at sniper range with DMR, so... You know, sometimes you can, but I'm not as far as like an actual sniper. So just knowing those ranges, that is beautiful, honestly. That's something else I want to get into. Also, try to use those DMRs. SMGs, I'm not too sure about. It's never really good with SMGs in most, you know, FPSs. I was more of an AR, LMG, or sometimes like a burst fire type of either like a marksman or like an assault rifle that had like a 3-round burst, you know, like those M16s, those kind of things, those type of weapons. Yeah, but I'm just reading through it's insane. And a lot of different fixes for different maps, especially for like breakthrough, conquest, different modes. And they have tons of UI and HUD changes. Hopefully the menu gets a little easier to go through. Sometimes you can get lost in it, especially me. I'm not used to Battlefield, so that's definitely a great plus. Oh yeah, they also changed something that already went live. They took away like portal XP. Like I think you get like match completion XP, and basically you don't get like, I don't think you get weapon XP. You don't get your challenges, like, and KD doesn't count from there anymore. Things like that. I'm not sure why they did the XP restrictions, because in Battlefield 2042 I played it very light. I didn't really like it that much, because I think that's where they really went to try to copy COD, and yeah, I just didn't like it. You know what I mean? It just didn't. When they tried to copy COD, they made the game feel unnatural. You know, with ARs just beaming across the map, and it just felt like a different version of Call of Duty. So I wasn't as interested. But man, Battlefield 6 went back to its roots, and man, I'm definitely immersed. Especially, they do the audio so well, like for the tanks, just the explosions. Like, I feel like I'm in the actual war zone. Like, it's funny that Call of Duty calls their game mode Warzone, but this feels like a war zone. Because if you're hiding in a building, you can't close a door and hide behind an indestructible wooden door. You know what I mean? That just makes no sense to me. And Call of Duty has had like a decade to do something that's innovating, and they just never did it. So this game has captured me. So I'm very, very happy with this game. So if I was to have a choice to buy this game again, I would buy this game again 1,000 times over. I mean, we're not even, where were we, 2-3 weeks in, and we're getting a massive patch with great bug fixes, and it's fixing the two major problems, which was mainly the bloom and the visibility and even movement, you know. So some people that were unhappy and feel like they're moving too slow, now those people get to, you know, enjoy the game a little bit better as well, finding a beautiful middle ground. Hopefully it's not, you know, too fast a movement change. I mean, I don't really care. At the end of the day, I did play Warzone, and I was really good at Warzone. I was good with moving around and everything. I was never like a movement demon per se. So, you know, having a game where it's not based on, you know, slide canceling in a circle to avoid bullets just feels beautiful. The matchmaking and everything, it just feels natural. Sometimes I'm facing veterans, get my ass whooped. Sometimes I'm facing noobs and get to have fun. But it's all about learning, getting better, and just improving and learning the game. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more content.